People like statistics. About 38% of the people that are in our jail have some type of substance use disorder, and about 12% of our local population are on MAT medications in our facility. So, again, there's a need, right? There's a need. So.
Welcome back to the Level Up Life, Muscle and Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Adam. I got some special guests with me today. This episode means a lot. Just watching them walk in the parking lot brought up a lot of emotions, because I spent a lot of time incarcerated. So I had this image of all of you in my head from back then, and it still pops up today. But I really appreciate you all coming. If you want to introduce yourself, we'll go around. We'll start with you.
I'm Amy Randall, and I'm the jail captain.
Deputy Jason Haruska.
And Lieutenant Trent Millard, the jail lieutenant.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. So topic is the recovery pod, which is it's new. It's brand new in Midland. There's not many of them in the country either. So I really want to dive into how did this vision come to be? And why is now the right time? And anybody, go ahead.
After working in the jail for 24 years, I've booked in so many people that are afflicted with substance use disorder, and I think that there's a tremendous need for it. So when I first started, I was booking in the parents, and now as the years pass, the children. Of the parents. So I definitely think there was a tremendous need. And then as I got promoted, I got more exposure to Marissa Bolton's groups, community correction board advisory meetings, and then which exposed me to Joel and Greg. And through conversation with Joel, it was his dream to start some service in the jail. So we had an open pod in the jail, and I approached the sheriff because I love the idea. I believe that's a need, and I like to help people.
Yeah. And I'm sure Sheriff Holzinger was supportive of it. He's really supportive of my personal recovery. So it's really cool that I feel like we're pioneers, right? Isn't
for sure.
the city of
Trendsetters.
We're the city of pioneers. So it's really cool that's something, because I know it's going to make an enormous impact on individual lives. And when you mention you booked the parents, now you're booking the kids. A lot of the time, and I know this working in the juvenile center and then also being in jail myself and being inside the system, it can be generational.
Yeah, absolutely.
There can be generational habits or trauma, and it takes one person to break that cycle. And this pod could be the beginning of that for many of these individuals. So I'm not used to doing this with a sheet here, so bear with me. I'm trying to, we try and grow and try and get better at what we do. This is part of that, right? This is growth for me. Get out of your comfort zone, people, and grow. So what problems inside the jail was this program specifically designed for?
Well, absolutely, to give the services for people that have substance use disorder. And so in this pod, this is how it's different from the other pods. We have a clinician, and when you come into jail, you answer the set of intake screening questions. So if you screen positive on one of those, we'll send a referral to our clinician, and then she'll diagnose you with substance use disorder. So that's what this whole intent was, is to create a pod where we could give robust services, additional programming, and then it also puts people into one group where they can be vulnerable. So if you're an E-pod or a D-pod, you have the influence of other inmates that don't share those same goals. So I think it makes it a lot easier to address the problem and put the services right into the pod.
Yeah, when Buddy and Joel and Aaron and I were all talking about it, we discussed that, the atmosphere of just like, when I was in prison, there were people trying to teach me mortgage scams and
how to be a better inmate,
how to cook meth. And I'm like, because I knew my addiction led me down some dark paths, and I would get desperate because it was about the next fix and not being sick anymore. So I didn't want the knowledge to do that stuff because I wanted to improve my life, but it was just this kind of cycle I couldn't break. And I know and even in jail, I was in D-Pod, and it was, there weren't people talking like, I have a lot of pain because I lost my father. People don't talk like that in jail. And I think that's where the change in this atmosphere of the pod is going to be major contributing factor.
I would describe it as sober living within the jail facility, where you've got a group of like-minded inmates that their goal isn't the same as what the other inmates' goals. Some of the other inmates' goals are just do their time and get out and get back to the same stuff they were doing, where these individuals can be together and encourage one another to get better. Like it's their goal to get better, so it's kind of like a like-minded community, so to speak, inside the jail.
Share the same goal.
Yeah.
And then hopefully it creates, with the services that are coming in, like they feel embraced already before they hit the streets. And then it's not like, I knew people were in meetings, and I knew Jolene and Angela, and I knew all these service providers in town, and it was still like, that walk of shame going back. Here I'm back, guys, So hopefully they feel that embrace before they even hit the streets. A lot of people only think jail is about punishment and public safety. Why do you think rehabilitation is so important to reduce recidivism and create safer communities long term? Let me rephrase the question. The rehab and the treatment and the services provided, it's kind of redundant to what we were just talking about, but how do you think that increases public safety? And it's because we're not taking away.
For sure. I think that's a 3-part question. So like it's important because the rehabilitative services, for one, just for the jail, it creates less fights. It's safer for the inmates. It's safer for our jail staff. For the inmate, you're giving them a set of tools that they can take when they leave. We're doing warm handoffs, which is something that we predominantly have not done. And then with all that being said, they can take those tools and then they can apply them to their life. They're making connections with Joel, Greg, yourself. There's just a lot more support. And then that in itself is hopefully going to reduce recidivism and then lower overdose deaths. And then it also would create less on EMS, law enforcement, because they don't have to respond to things like that. So.
And I think, too, is they'll learn tools that when they get out, they'll know how to cope with some of these temptations that come up, when you do get out. And, also they won't have so much shame if they relapse, they come back to jail, because it is a process, right? Not everybody can just get sober. Sometimes it takes a few times, some learning, and but knowing that if they do come back, there are people there that care and understand what they're going through and understand that, yep, sometimes you do mess up when you get out. You end up back in here. It's okay. We can work on this, and that way next time when you don't come back.
And we had talked about that early. I use the analogy of a lot of times that I've seen when people come back and they struggle, there's so much guilt and shame. And I would tell them, or I tell them, you learn from that, right? So it's like walking down the sidewalk and there's a hole, right? And you fall into the hole, and then you dig yourself out. And then you might do that several times, but pretty soon you learn, hey, there's a hole there.
Yeah.
I got to walk around it. So
do something
you have
different.
learned from your relapses or what triggers you. So.
And I think it's important to communicate to the public, the community, that this is the recovery pod's not taking away the deterrence factor. It's not taking away the punishment. And
Right. It's still jail. There's still the participants in this pod are still held to the same set of rules. That is no different. So
so the accountability factor is still there. It's just rather than just throwing them in a box to
And in some
store
ways,
them.
it's more because the people that come into our pod, they have to sign an agreement that they will participate in the services, or we will kick them out. So,
Yep. And then it's back to higher security
Yep.
cell, right?
yep,
Yeah, and in some ways, they got a lot more to lose in
Mm-hmm.
there, because if they don't follow the rules, they don't get the services, and that's kind of like a privilege that they're given, and so
incentives, yeah.
yeah, so it's an
Well,
incentive to
A lot of
do
these
good.
people were pulled from E-Pod and Frank Pod. Like they were locked down 19 hours a day, 23 hours a day. They get this little bit of freedom and they're like, wow,
Yeah.
this is something, from where I just came from, being locked down 23 hours. I asked a guy we had in there right now, I was like, you like this better? And he's like, this is amazing. It's the resources offered here, the community in here already. He seems happier. He's talking more, I guess,
Mhm. Yeah.
And he'll
and-
talk. Yeah.
I seen a guy. So there's a participant in there right now, and I won't say his name, but he was here sometime in 25, and I know this individual in my 24-year career, and I was like, man, like when I would do my weekly walkthrough, I'm like, oh, he's not engaged. He sleeps. Like I said hi to him, he wouldn't even acknowledge me, which like I was like, man. And then now he's back and he's in this pod, and it's like. It's just even the jail staff have told me, they're like, yeah, he's up, he's doing the program, he's engaged, like he just seems so, there's so much gratitude.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I sit back and I try and reflect on the process because I know their schedule, and I'm like, man, how rigorous it is and how busy they are. Just for one, some of them, I'm sure at some point you're going to get someone that's faking it.
for
Like,
sure.
just to
But
get
we're
the
still planting
privileges.
seeds.
Yes, that's the
But we're
that's
still
the
planting
key.
seeds.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's where I was going with that. So
Yep.
thank you. But that's the thing, when you're exposed to an environment, which the environment is clearly different in there, when you throw someone in there, even if they don't want it, it's gonna rub off on them.
Yeah,
They're
there's
gonna get
gonna be-
absorbed.
kind of a peer pressure
Mhm.
kind of group.
Yep.
You
And
know.
we had that conversation in between squat sets. Like, you guys are the pioneers. You're the first in here. So how you go through this process is going to determine what the guys in the future get with this. And not to put pressure on you, but every new body that walks through that door, you guys are the leaders. You guys are the ones that are, you're the community in here, and you have to hold each other accountable.
I agree with that for sure. And that was one of the things when we initially picked participants, we wanted to create. So before we started services, we put people in there the week before so we could start to create that culture in there. So
Yeah, I know my time in the juvenile center, you can tell when there'll be a specific individual in there, how it changes the dynamic of, and it's when you get down to its basics, it's herd psychology, right? So people will change slightly, and I'm sure this is stuff I anticipate, like with what I'm doing in there, how I'm gonna, like, all right, I had one guy say I can't on squats since I've been in there, and I said can't's a swear word. If you say can't, say yet. So, I mean, because you get one guy that quits on squats, and I let that slide,
then somebody else is doing
and
it. Yeah.
someone, and
Yeah.
it's like it's a
Domino.
effect, yeah. So, since you work directly inside the pod, what does a typical day look like?
Lights turn on about 6:45 a.m. The nurse will come down, distribute meds. Obviously, I'm in the unit at this point, but the nurse will come down, distribute meds. They kind of just chill, watch the news, WNEM, something like that, and then meals will come in at 7:45. Distribute the meals on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They'll get razors to use for approximately half an hour. They usually go back to sleep after that. But then 9 a.m. we've got a provider coming down, running a session. Heather is there Monday, Wednesdays. Sometimes they'll have like a Pure 360 Zoom that we can hook up to a big TV in there, and they all watch, participate, And then again, that's a big thing, is everybody's got to participate in that. That usually lasts about 2 hours, wraps up most of the morning. Meals will come in about a half an hour after that. I go to lunch, come back. Yesterday, we can use Wednesday, for example. You show up at 1 o'clock, or somebody else, another provider will show up at 1 o'clock. Work them out for an hour and a half. And they seem to, I think, not because I'm sitting here, but I think they enjoy your class some of the most. I think the way you interact with them, they totally enjoy it, and I can, like, they're ready, waiting for you to get down there. I think they enjoy that. And then a class after that at 3:00. Camille came in yesterday. Creative.
Yep.
It's an interesting class. They seem to enjoy it though. It's pretty cool.
They love the flow with. They've told me that going from working out into some stretching with her and some yoga is like.
I was actually stretching with them. I was like, man, this is kind of nice. I mean, he's sitting in a chair some of the day, he's relax and stretch out a little bit. Dinner at 4:45, and then they're kind of bunks until 6:00 when the night shift comes in, and then at 7:00 NA will come in, AA will come in, Buddy will come in, answer, and then they kind of have the evenings off, if you will, to watch TV, but they're usually kind of tired at that point, so they'll go to bed. Yeah.
They told me they sleep like babies in there just because it's like they're busy.
Oh, at 6 a.m. when I do my first round, there's a lot of snoring.
Oh yeah. So when I compare it to like my time incarcerated, in the old jail, we could try and sleep as long as possible. Yeah. The rules, I feel like the rules changed at the new jail, and they're like, you got to get up, get your tray. And I'm, so it was like, you actually had to get up and you couldn't sleep under your bed and all this. So, the fact that they're required to not only get up and they're required to actually participate in this stuff, but all of them are actually choosing that over just vegging, shows their buy-in. And for the workouts, I was really impressed with how my first time in there, with how willing they are to not only listen, but to get down into it and work out, get a sweat on. Because I know when I was in there in the beginning, I'm like, I got to wait till I get some good deodorant. They mentioned deodorant to me, but they're like, they're still all getting after it.
Yeah.
And they're holding each other accountable, which is really cool, because that carries over into other aspects of life. Like, you only did 10. We're supposed to do 15. I counted your reps. You only did 10. Do 5 more, and in the overall like vibe between them it's friendly. It's like, and that
good camaraderie.
Yeah. It's holding each other accountable, and it's having fun doing it, which I think is really important, because as far as the fitness component goes, if they can develop that as a pressure relief valve for stress, then it's just another tool in their toolbox to not go back. Take
with them too, yeah, for sure.
I explained to him, I said, I was sitting in the gym the other day, and I follow, arrests. What is it? MichiganArrests.org or whatever. And I look at the jail roster and I see people that are getting booked, and I see people at the gym every day. And this correlation I made is people who are at the gym don't go to jail. So I asked myself, why? And because people at the gym are focused on bettering themselves, they're focused on, getting stronger. You can't be messing around and going to the gym. Like the two, it's like oil and water. Yeah, so sure. I told them that. So if you simplify it, if you go to the gym, you don't go to jail ever again. So moving on, we kind of talked on expectations and accountability between the groups. So got a good flow going. I don't even need this. So in terms of recovery, so let me reset. What challenges come with running a rehab-focused program inside a correctional facility?
Yeah, so in the beginning, it was just figuring it out. We've never done this, and we actually went to Kane County in Chicago they have a system, I believe, that their recovery pod's been in place for 7 years. So it was just like learning, like how do we want to do this? And then picking people to work in there. It takes all types to run a jail, but certain people should only work in there. and then making sure we had the right participants in there. And one of the biggest hurdles we have is funding. So it's expensive. Programs are expensive. So those have been the hurdles.
Yeah. Some people hear rehab or rehabilitation, and they assume it's avoiding consequences. What would you say to those people that think people who are seeking rehabilitation are just avoiding consequences? Anybody?
I mean, I don't see it that way. I think that rehabilitation is part of, it's integral. You have to have that. You have to address the issue that is bringing them to the jail. So, and again, anyone that's in there, they're held to the same set of standards. So it's no different. So
Yeah. I know, like, the recovery court process, that whole thing, and any of the other specialty courts can be perceived as like people are deferring, like, from a heavy sentence. They're like, I'll just
it's a lot of work, though. It's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it weeds them out, because I know a few of the guys that and I won't mention names, but that I went through the recovery court process with, both got kicked out, two of them. So one of them ended up getting probation. They just kind of kicked him off onto probation. The other one went to prison. So I think it's the same concept as with the recovery pod in general. People that are trying to fake it, they're going to be
It'll
ousted.
weed them out.
Yeah, for sure.
And even we talked about that with the guys in there. I was like, I think if you're trying to just fake it, and they were like, oh no, we can see it, and I can see, even when I look at the guys, I'm like, from day one, I'm like, he is 100% bought in. He's still kind of on the fence. He's bought in. He's doing it kind of just make through the day, a little bit easier. And
Yeah, now obviously there's a punishment component, which is why you're in there, but we deem it corrections, right? So the goal is to correct behavior, to make it so that you don't come back, and that you leave better than you came in.
Yep.
And so that's our goal, is to, especially with this pod, to give them those skills so that when they get out, it's just not releasing them out the door. But when they do get out, they have the skills and the know-how, and they know the supports that they can go to, so they don't end up back in.
right.
To
build on what you just said too, is from my perspective, when I was using and I'd get kicked out the door, and I'm like, sometimes I already have plans to relapse.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going out and I'm going to get high. I'd been planning it for weeks or months or however long I was in there. And I think the community aspect of it, knowing, like, the soft release, are you talking about
A warm handoff.
Yeah.
What we call it. Yeah, warm handoff.
Warm
Yep.
handoff. Soft release. I know where
Yeah.
But, so Buddy
Yeah.
posted a picture today sitting outside the jail, 5 a.m. I get up early, so I seen it.
Was he there to pick someone up?
Yeah, he was
that's
there to
great,
pick
yeah.
someone up. And I think getting into someone's hands, like a recovery, like you're automatically in the recovery community, whether it's connecting with me, connecting with Buddy, connecting with Joel, anybody. Now you have a support network outside,
Yeah.
and you've already been building on recovery from the inside. So,
And I think for a lot of people, it shows a lot of people that don't have a lot of support in their life. Hey, there's somebody that cares about me. That's somebody that is taking time out of their day to, heck, pick me up from jail. Like, I can't get my own family to do that, So I think that's huge.
it creates a buy-in even more, right?
I think one of the best things that we ever did, even before we opened this pod, was allow recovery coaches to come in and start mentoring people and assisting. And I also love the fact that these people have lived that life and now they can give back. I mean, that's, to me, that's really meaningful. I just love that. So
Yeah. It's wild for me. I'm gonna just be honest, coming in there, and It hasn't wore off yet. Every time I'm walking up there, I'm like,
I'm willingly here.
censor
Yeah.
myself. I'm like, WTF.
Am I getting out?
What am I like? What is this? This is like, I was just saying to the guys the other day, I'm like, I feel like I died actually when I overdosed and somehow got like moved over into alternate reality or something. And here I am coming in here kicking it with you guys. And I said, it's so wild because I get to leave. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It really is. And then I get to share, like, I asked one of them in there, I said, what do you want with your life? Is this, how many times you been to jail? Whatever, however many times. Is this what you want? Do you want to come back again when you're in your 50s, 60s? Is this what you want with your future?
Yeah.
Okay. No, he doesn't want that. So who got you here? Was it the cops? Was it the judges? No, it was me. Okay. So that accountability, don't let that be shameful because that's power.
Yeah.
Once you admit that, it's like,
and I totally agree with that because I've seen that for many years where people, oh no, it's the police, it's this, it's that, but never could they say it was themselves. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big step for someone to.
For me, it was in treatment. I said that, and I explained this to these guys, and I said it was wild because I knew anything I wanted to do, it was just how much do I want to work for it?
Yeah, it was a mindset that.
How hard do I want to? What am I willing to sacrifice? I told the guys, they laughed at me because I was celibate throughout recovery court. I did not, and someone suggested it to me, like to build a solid foundation in recovery. Don't mess with women when you get out, dude, because it'll just
You got to
complicate.
work on yourself first,
just
right? Work on yourself, get yourself whole.
Yeah, and I told these guys that, and they're just like, what? Yeah, because and I had people saying it was crazy I was doing it then. But it's like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be they call it the 13th step, is that going to be what gets you back into jail? Because it's very possible. Codependency, like there's all these things that come into play. So I was willing to sacrifice anything. I was hands in the air, like, what do I have to do? I want different. And then that accountability factor, like, it was in D213, I talk about this because this was my moment. I sat there and I was like, my bunkie, I still remember his name, and I'm like, bullshit that they revived me just to charge me with a felony. And in that moment, I realized I'm an idiot. I'm complaining that they resuscitated me. And that's when I knew, like, something's got to change. So to be part of this is just like to give it back, right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Mm-hmm. And I know Buddy and I talk about it. Joel and I have talked about it. We're all like, we're going to reach back in there and pull some guys out, change some lives. It's going to happen. And there's certain people that just, might take them, like you said, a few more times.
I think too, sometimes it takes people to the darkest part of their lives to realize, whoa, like maybe there's more, maybe there's something better. Like, so, and sometimes it just takes like moments, like you said, that you're just sitting there thinking that, and then realizing, no, maybe that's,
I can do whatever I want. I can have whatever life I want.
Yeah.
I have some restrictions with like my past. I have a background. So I'm not running for president. So we can knock that off the list. Probably won't become governor. Probably not going to be sheriff. Probably not going to work like within reason. Like you can dream a little bit and really set your mind to something. And
yeah, for sure.
And I'm trying to communicate this to these guys because I want them to have a vision, and I want them to be able to.
It's for sure a message
work
of hope.
towards it. Yeah. Now let's take a moment to thank our sponsors, Pine Haven Assisted Living. At Pine Haven Assisted Living, they believe in making every resident feel at home. Nestled in the peaceful countryside of Hemlock, Michigan, they offer compassionate care in a family-like environment where residents can enjoy independence with the support they need. Registered nurse owned and operated, their team provides personalized care, home-cooked meals, and a range of activities to ensure your loved ones continue to live a fulfilling life. They also have alpacas and llamas on site to enrich the lives of their residents. Experience the warmth and comfort of Pine Haven. Call them today at 989-295-6632. That's 989-295-6632. Or you can visit them on their website at pinehavenassistedliving.com. That's pinehavenassistedliving.com for more information. Now, back to the Level Up Life. So have you guys noticed, for the people that are in there, have you noticed behavior changes in the inmates?
Yeah,
so
I
far?
touched on that a little bit earlier. For sure, gratitude. People really seem just genuinely thankful that these services are there for them. And I've heard through some of the other COs too that they have a plan for the first time, things to look forward to. So, and I can tell when I go in there too, they just seem grateful.
Yeah, it's a different walking into that pod than some of the other pods in the jail. Like, you're just not stared at. There's smiles, and it's good to see that. Like, it's not just we're going about our day. They actually look happy and engaged versus just passing the time.
Yeah.
It's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
And I've even heard from some of our staff too, even Jason here, like he loves working in there. And some of the gals that work in there, they're like, hey, I got to hear Buddy's story, and they're just amazed. So I think that it's changed them too. So for the better. I think so.
I think they're more willing to share down there too, because it's a smaller unit, more one-on-one. I had a gentleman yesterday tell me a big win for him in the courts. He had a court case out of a different county, and he walked in just all smiles. He goes, man, I just had great news. My attorney did something for me. I mean, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but he just wanted to share that positive news, where if you're working in one of the bigger units, they think you don't have time to want to listen to that story at all,
Right.
So,
Well, and I know, like, talking the atmosphere inside, in prison and in a lot of jails, you talk to the COs, you're friendly with them, that's not...
You're blacklisted.
Right, right, because it's from an inmate perspective, it's us versus them. They're the bad guys. They're the ones keeping us here. When, like, I've had people... I told you the story about the gentleman who, you mentioned something with running.
Yeah.
With running shoes to him, and he still remembered that later on, like, I don't know how many years later, but that impacted him and it was simply, he treated me like a human.
Yeah.
Because, for on the inside, it doesn't always feel like that. And sometimes it's the inmate perception too. And you guys have a job to do. And it's like, but I think that's important stuff, like those conversations that he felt open enough to come talk to you about it. And I know who you're talking about. He told me too.
Yeah.
It's exciting, right?
Yeah, it's good. And I feel like with this pod, there is going to be more of those conversations, just because you can, I don't know if, we talked about it on the ride over, bond, you can have more one-on-one time with them to kind of build a better rapport with them, just, it's so much more relaxed in there.
And they can see too that, we're just not there to keep them locked up, we're humans too. And, we can listen to what we have, similar challenges, maybe not to that extent in our lives, but everybody has problems, and they can see, hey, we're human too.
Yep.
You're not alone in your problems. Everybody has problems, and we're not these bad guys that come in and make them do stuff every day.
Right.
Just take away your blankets.
Yeah. So I think, see, we're human too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are human. We're human.
Yeah.
Everyone's just trying to make it through the day, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has stress. And the problem with jail in general is it's super stressful. From an inmate perspective, it's what's going on with my case. It's they don't feed me enough. it's, you know, like you can go in this rabbit hole of all the things that are wrong.
For sure. No one wants to be in jail.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. No, and that's the weird part for me because I get excited about coming in there now, and it's just like, what? It's so weird. But no, yeah, nobody wants to come in there.
Yeah. Well, it's inherently a negative environment, right? I mean, someone's been charged with something, your rights are taken away. You have to ask everybody for anything that you need in there. It's just, the environment's tough.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's not fun.
No.
I mean, the healing component to what they offer in here they have one-on-one counseling.
Yeah, we have individual counseling. I believe we're doing that 8 hours a week. And then the other thing that we added, we added that because of the trauma group. So we added that. And then sometimes that opens up wounds, we'll call them. And so we felt it was important that, with that being said, dealing with all that trauma that some people are going to need to have that individual counseling after those groups. So
yeah, because it's, if anything, and anybody out there can relate that's in recovery, it's layers. It's like an onion, right? And in general, I think healing is it's cyclical. Like you might start here and feel like you're so far away from it, and then, you know, for me, I hear a song come on the radio. It reminds me of my dad, and it's like, oh, man,
triggers you, yeah.
I just wish I would have had, you know, like extra years with him to get to know him, or, you know, so you just keep circling back, and each opportunity gets some more healing. And I think that's important that there's layers of services. You have the peer support, just super important for when they leave. You have the one-on-one individual counseling. You have exposure to multiple types of groups. So there's refuge recovery meetings.
There's helping men recover. I believe Aaron from 1016 does Finding Your Moral Compass. I believe that's what he calls that. And then I know one of the things I've gotten tons of feedback. I believe it's called Smart Recovery, and it's a Zoom group from another state. Johnny is his name, and they just all seem to love that. And another cool thing he did is he emailed me and he asked, he's like, hey, do you have a good donut shop? Would I be allowed? And we love to incentivize in there too. We don't want to do it all the time, but he's having the gourmet cupcake shop tomorrow. Deliver cupcakes for the participants in there, and then the jail staff. So I think that's awesome.
Well, I'll make sure they work those off next
time. Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have told you that, right? Yeah.
So let's move on here. So how important do you think that peer support is from both an inside and outside perspective in terms of mentorship, lived experience, to get people to buy in?
Well, I think that's crucial. Again, I love that that anyone that's been in there and that has practiced sobriety or been in sobriety for a long time can give back. And I think it's very important for the inmates because, like, we can be in there and talk to them too, but I think that it's a different level. Like they think we don't understand, and maybe we don't to a certain degree, that they can have someone come in that's lived that life and give them the skill set, the tools, and just the message of hope. So
yeah, they have that credibility because they were there, they were in their shoes at one point, you know, and now look at them now, you know.
Interesting. I was telling Sheriff before about this. So there's someone in there right now that when I came in, he recognized me from, it would have been 2008.
Okay.
When I had fractured my hip in boot camp. So I came back and he's like, you remember we were in the old jail together back in 2008, and you came back from the SAI boot camp and you were on crutches and they put you up in Max. And he mentioned another person and he said they were on Trustee with me. And I'm like, okay, so he was there. He definitely was there. And I was like, well, what are you doing back here? You know, so it created that credibility. So he knew, and he was like, dude, like,
how'd you do it?
How did you do it? So there's instant like intrigue, and I feel like he bought in immediately.
For sure, yeah.
Because, you know, I tell people, like, I was a heroin addict. They see me today and they're like, no, ain't no way, man. I'm like, yeah, Yeah, for like 15 years. And that is proof, you can change. And they're like, I still don't believe it. Like normies.
Mm-hmm.
I told my wife that right when we met because I wanted to make sure she knew who I was before we wasted time going down the road. Like, you can't accept me for who I am. I'm not holding anything back. This is who I am. And she was like, I'd have to see pictures because I don't believe it. So hope, right?
Yeah,
That's what this is all built on is hope. So I want to hear more about, it's not soft release. What is it?
Warm handoff.
Warm handoff.
Yeah.
So explain that a little more in depth.
A warm handoff is, so traditionally, and it's one of the biggest things that need to be addressed in jails because you can put all the programming and services in there that you want. You need a warm handoff because you're just releasing someone into the community and they don't have the connections. They don't know where to find the services. So Joel has been working on that piece.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll work at housing if someone needs rides. We have is it the buprenorphine hotline? We have stuff posted for that, and then he'll also. He can refer people to like J&A counseling to continue services because that's who provides some of the services into the jail or wherever. He can help them navigate through that and find whatever they need. Like if they have questions, we can refer people to where they can get their BAT medications, continuation of those. I think I said rides. It's just an integral piece because without that, it's just going back to the old habits, the old ways. Whomever is going to accept where these people can go. So, it's a warm handoff.
Yeah, that's the challenge with housing is if you get thrust back into the environment.
You have nowhere to go.
Like I see this with kids in the juvenile system too that get just kicked. They go back and they have to go back with their parents. And I've had conversations with kids that are like, they're like, oh, I get out Friday. And I'm like, that's awesome, right? They're like, not really. It's better here. And what type of life is that? I'm like, man, like you're not, it's that bad at home where completely getting your freedoms taken away is better. It's a better option.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's just the safety
For
portion,
sure. Yeah.
which goes into like a lot of those. If you look at the big picture, the timeline, it's the people that come up with upbringings like that get thrown back into those situations that end up coming and seeing you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then what happens previously prior to like these recovery pod services, specialty courts, they just get kicked back out, and it's like, good luck. Yeah. And then from my experience, first time I got in trouble, I got 90 days. So I spent 75 days. And then I got 2 years probation. I reported on that probation term I was required. I looked at it and I'm like, that's 24 reports that I have to make it through. How can I manipulate the system? Because that's what an addict does.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're always figuring out that, how can I,
There was no like support networks. Like I didn't even know 12-step meetings existed. I went to J&A and, I talked with Angela about it. There was times when she was on the show here, times I came in and I was like, nodding out while I was on paper. It's like any way we can manipulate the system as addicts, we're going to, because that's the nature of addiction. It's a disease. It's a mental health disorder. Yeah. So programs like this succeed. How does it positively impact Midland as a whole? Not just the inmates, but families, neighborhoods, and public safety as a whole.
Yeah, I think we touched on that earlier. Well, one thing, families, I would say like giving the people the tools, the skill set, the warm handoffs, all those things can help reunify families, especially when people I guess the word get clean, right? So they can reconnect with their families. And again, when all those things happen, they don't come back to jail. You have a safer community. You have less calls for law enforcement, EMS. It's just less taxing on our resources. And then it's better for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, if they have these skills, they can get employed and contribute to society rather than, be a burden, and
Give back.
I think
just like you're doing, like Betty's
back.
doing. Yeah.
Yep, and I just think it's a net positive for the community if,
Yep. Become an asset instead of a liability.
There you go.
That's it, right? Because I talked with someone, I'm not going to mention their name. This individual, good job, somewhat important person, not even local, so don't ask me who this is. But I talked to them, and they were like, I drove pretty drunk at him, and I was like, I've drove under the influence, and I never considered. I just always thought it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I never really sat and thought, what if I hit a mother and 3 kids and killed them, any of them? Like, how would that make me feel? And I'm, in general, a caring individual, and that would have just destroyed me. Mm-hmm. And aside from what it would have done to them, like, there's no good that comes out of that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, then you're already dealing with whatever it is, when you're using. But now you'd have to live with the guilt of that.
And
Absolutely.
And creating more problems.
Yeah, more trauma. Yeah.
So this is for everyone. I want to hear from everyone on this one.
All right.
What would you say to someone who's currently incarcerated who feels stuck in a cycle and believes they can't change their life?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Because we all talked about this. So first and foremost, I think the biggest step there is to listen. Because I think that advice that you're going to give is, you just can't blanket that, right? I think that by listening, you can determine where they are. And then I would tell people, again, I would use that analogy, like, the biggest thing that I've seen is people have all this guilt and shame. It's okay to have guilt and shame. It's okay. People make mistakes. It's what are you going to do with that? And then sooner or later, if you relapse, like, just identify that and learn from it, and just never quit. Like, you can be 18 and make your life better. You can be 50. It doesn't matter. You just got to keep trying. So
yeah, and I want to build on that. We actually, ironically, the topic we discussed when I was in there was shame versus responsibility. So, like, I was ashamed in my experience how I treated. This is how I explained it to them too. I was ashamed how I reflected on my family because of my behaviors. I was ashamed of my behaviors, but I took responsibility for them. Like, I can't change the fact that I did this. I can change how I act in the future. So
I think, just there's hope, don't give up. You might mess up, but there's hope, and there's people that care, and, it's okay if you mess up, but just learn from the mistakes and just keep moving forward,
I was going to say hope as well, but no, finding that positive community. If you feel stuck, find some positives in it. Find somebody that can be positive for you, like somebody like yourself. You show up, and somebody might have felt stuck, and you show up, and you're like, "You got this." You can't. You said
can't a swear word.
Can't swear word.
Yeah.
Like, can't yet. So.
That gets into a core mindset too.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a convicted felon. I can't. ... I'm an addict in recovery. It still could be in recovery, and I can't find. You get into this like cycle of
bad mindset.
I can't find a place to rent because I have a felony, or I can't get a job because I have a felony, or whatever. You just spiral down, and it's just like, I mean, not to discount that, but it's oh, woe is me, the world is against me. You get into that mindset, and it just, if you say there's opening to finding a way, making it happen,
and focus on the can. You know, well, if I can't do this, but I can do these other things. You know, I think when you change that mindset, you know, it does open up other possibilities. Yeah, like you said, I probably won't ever be able to work in the jail, right? But hey, I can be an entrepreneur. I can have a podcast. I can do all these different things, you know.
Yeah. My dream was actually to work in the jail, but since I couldn't, I found a way, back door.
You did, yeah.
Not really, but I mean, it's I can't work as what you guys do, but I have my own lane. This is my lane, right? Yeah. My expertise is the fitness component paired with recovery and how that's helped me stay clean in my life. The entrepreneurial side of it that I bring to the table with these guys, telling them like, you can't, who you hang out with when you go out matters. So
yeah, for sure.
Cultivate your circle very carefully. These people can either lead you down the right path or...
Yeah, and I do think that's why it's so important to form these connections, because without that, that's all they have, and they go right back to the same people, and it's just it's a vicious cycle, and they'll keep returning. So again, the connections are huge.
Yeah, I believe it. You know, the people you hang around are the people you become yourself, right? So if you align yourself with people with the same goals, you're going to become better because you're going to make each other better. You know,
one of my favorite quotes, I say it all the time, but it's true. It's Jim Rohn. Anybody familiar with Jim Rohn?
The Jim Rohn show.
You are the average of the 5 people you're around the most.
Absolutely. I believe that 100%.
You cannot, like, in that gets into, like, that bad apple that comes into the pod that's just really trying to gain some more freedoms. They're going to be absorbed by the group. So you are the average. I've sat with business owners, and I'm like, listening to their conversation, and they're talking about expansion and all this, and I've sat with people that are talking about like, how are we going to get money for the next fix? So it's like very stark difference. What do you want the community to understand about the recovery pod and the importance of rehabilitation focused programs like the recovery pod? And to expand on that, the specialty courts and what they do for the community, and even the services. I don't know how familiar you are with services in the juvenile center, but all of these things are the same thing. So what would you want to tell the community about it?
I would say initially it's very expensive to have these programs, right? And so, you know, there might be some hesitation in the community. Why are we giving these inmates more money? But I think it's investing in the future, because it's expensive to house these inmates. But if you're giving them the skills now, it's going to save money in the future, because they're not going to be coming back and using, you know, the services at the jail.
Was it for MDOC? Do you guys know the cost to house? I think last I heard it was like $48,000.
I'm not sure. Pretty expensive.
Yeah,
I don't know what this.
I know their budget is in the billions. So
I think for my time in there, it's you know, it's still in its infancy. You know, it's been just over a month, but the positives in that pod versus the other units, and that's why I like working in there. It is a positive environment, 100%. Everybody wakes up, shows up, does their best. I think they're gaining something from that, and they can translate that out into the public.
And I would say the same thing. Like, I would want the community to know that, one, it makes a safer jail for the inmates, for the staff, and two, they are getting tools that they'll be able to take with them, and again, it creates a safer environment for us all. These are, you know, and one misconception I think that people have too is people come to jail, oh, they're bad, they're bad people. Not everybody there is bad. You know, they have a problem. And I think people are uneducated about addiction. And sometimes, like in the depths of addiction, it's very hard. Like, how much control do they really have, right? And I just believe that these services again, it gives them so much tools and help, and that hopefully they take that out. And even if it doesn't work the first time, that's there for them the second time and the third time, because it's not easy. If it was easy, we wouldn't have this problem, right? It's hard. It's hard, and it's going to take many times. And one of the things too I want to mention, what we're doing is, so people that have been sentenced to recovery court, or my hope, if they get a sanction, as long as their behavior is good, we put them right back into that pod when they have to come back to jail, and it reconnects them with their services. So again, I think that's just supporting that, and again, realigning them with the services and the tools that they need. So.
Yeah, and it's not taking them out of that like recovery mindset.
For sure.
They're thrust back into the pod.
Yeah.
And we're not putting you in e-pod where, you're meeting the next dope friend or,
Right.
person that don't share the same goals.
You're getting put back in that, like I said
that
before,
environment.
It's like sobriety living. You're getting put back in that sobriety house, albeit the jail, but you're with like-minded people, and so I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, and substance use disorder does not discriminate, right? It can get anyone, and these are people's, they're not, like I said, they're not all bad people. These are people's children.
They're your neighbors.
Your neighbors, your dad, your cousin, your brothers. These are people in your community. So we can either invest in them and choose to try to give them the resources or not. And I mean, the outcome, I think, would not be good. So yeah.
I think the whole concept is, if you simplify it down, it's lead with empathy.
For sure.
Think about, what is this person going through that got them into this 10-year cycle? Like, what are they dealing with, And how do you define trauma to an individual, right? I use the analogy like a 16-year-old girl could get a flat tire on a dark highway and not have cell phone service and not know how to change a tire, or boy, not girl, just girl. It could be anybody.
Sure.
Someone could not know, and that could be traumatic and scary to them. Where for me, I'm not going to be scared. I'm just going to, I know how to change a tire. I'm just going to get out, do the job, and get back to it. For me, losing my dad when I was 18 was traumatic. Losing my grandpa when I was even younger was traumatic, which some people handle the grieving process better than I did at the time. So it's really individualized, so you can't define what trauma is. And if we get into like measuring sticks of like, well, I lost my mom and my dad, and not, then it's like, what is this, a competition of who hurts more? Like,
Right.
What are we doing here? Yeah. So that's why I always say lead with empathy and relate, don't compare. So, I know when I talked to the guys in there, they said, I wish we could get more services in here. They're like hungry for more.
Yeah.
With how busy they
Yeah,
are.
we're trying.
Yeah.
We'd love to expand, but as you know,
Funding. Yeah.
funding.
So,
People like statistics. About 38% of the people that are in our jail have some type of substance use disorder, and about 12% of our local population are on MAT medications in our facility. So, again, there's a need, right? There's a need. So,
yeah. Well, hopefully we can put something together. I have some ideas. We got a lot of good brains involved, so hopefully we can grow this.
Yeah, for sure.
Make the whole jail a pod like this. And this gets into a larger kind of topic, I think, that should be discussed on a national level, and it's justice reform in general. Like what you guys have done with this pod, starting it out. Thank you for including me. And this is how correction should be. By definition of the name of what it is, correcting behavior, because if you're just housing people, you're not helping them.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you guys
for having us.
Yes,
and
thank you
for what you do in our facility.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
Making an impact. So
Yeah. Thank you, everybody out there, for tuning in, especially if you're still listening. You made it this long. We appreciate you. Help us. Join the mission. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you.